Well, hello everyone. Today we have a special guest. It's a man who goes by High Fidelity, aka Hi-Fi. Uh, his life journey is very interesting. How can I call you? Actually, we texted before, and you were so. Are you IT expert? Who are you?
Who am I?
Because yeah, who are you? What's your
Well,
what's your
I will for your
because
audience.
your
I will
life
use.
journey is so unbelievable, and so it's such a high uh, like span between professions and dedication. Just explain who you are. How do you
Well,
see yourself?
I'm one of the epitomes of American weirdness.
Good.
So I grew up in the Midwest in the United States, around unsavory elements. My family and I, we dragged ourselves out of that milieu. We became kind of middle class. I went to college, but never finished a degree because I was just studying computers, and I did computers for a living. But before that, I've been a cab driver. I've been a published author. I've worked in restaurants. I mean, you name it, I've kind of done it, right? Um, and I got into technology, and I worked my way up to the point where I was eventually working for one of the largest software companies in the world, a company called VMware, and that was all sorts of fun. And then in late 2020, uh the I don't know if your listeners will know this event, but a young man named Kyle Rittenhouse went to
It was
Wisconsin with a gun,
yeah.
and he shot some protesters, and the protesters had guns and whatever. I don't really care about Kyle Rittenhouse, but what I care about is the fact that there were people raising money for him online. He hadn't even hired an attorney yet. And I found one of these fundraisers on a Christian website, and I reached out to the chief financial officer of the website, and I said, hey, this kind of violates your terms of service. And I pointed out where this was, I think incompatible with a Christian message, right? Shooting other protesters on the streets. And the chief financial officer said, well, I can appreciate your point of view, but too bad the fundraiser stays up. And what it turned out to be is that two very shady attorneys, a man named Eldon Wood and another man named John M. Pierce, had actually started the fundraiser before Rittenhouse had hired them as attorneys, and they were raising obscene amounts of money, so much so quickly that I thought it had all the hallmarks of online money laundering.
Wow.
So I started researching these attorneys, and what I found was through their histories, both of them connected to the PayPal mafia, specifically an individual named Joe Lonsdale. They also connected to Elon Musk, and they also connected to Joe Lonsdale's Russian business partner, a Russian thief named Sergey Grishin. And nobody's ever really talked about that business relationship, which
Joe
I think is very, very
Lonsdale is
important.
pretty big name in Silicon Valley. This is a
Yes.
huge
Well,
guy.
he's one of the co-founders with Peter Thiel of
Yeah.
Palantir, right? They both worked at PayPal. Joseph Lonsdale actually then went on to work with Sergey Grishin's other business partner, an Israeli man named Dovi Francis, and they did a lot of fintech or financial technology, virtual
Okay.
banks, money transfers, blah blah blah. They also did real estate, which we know is a vehicle for money laundering,
Yeah.
and they also did wealth management funds. Yeah. So anyway, I started putting out this information about how these PayPal mafia guys were connected to this Russian gangster, and how I don't think this fundraiser is legitimate. And weird things started happening. People started emailing my employer that I was a hacker trying to take down the fundraising site. And ultimately, the fallout from that led to my termination from the company I was working for at the
So
time.
they fired you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a standard troll practice, right? If you are being attacked by a crew of trolls, whether it's a paid crew of trolls or just a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths out on the internet, they will almost always go after your employer.
Money
Right.
or employment.
Yeah, money. It's financial warfare.
Yeah.
So they went after my employer, and that was that was a big mistake, because as soon as I realized, oh, this is what I'm facing a crew of trolls, things took a decidedly different turn. And while I was doing this research on Ellen Wood and John M. Pierce and Joe Lonsdale and Sergey Grishin, I met who is now one of my podcast co-hosts, Jim Stewartson. And Jim Stewartson was working on QAnon and the research for QAnon. And the network I was researching attached to the network he was researching through the attorney Ellen Wood. And over time, lots of crazy things happened. The Russian gangster who filed a fraudulent DMCA against me, got me kicked off of Twitter. 2 years and 7 months after I started discussing his relationship to the PayPal mafia, he ended up back in Moscow, dead of a mysterious brain disease. So, it's just been one bizarre circumstance after another. I had supposed members of the hacker crew Anonymous start coming into my DMs and surrounding me online and attempting to manipulate me in different ways. And they dragged me into Discord servers and Matrix servers, and they tried to influence me and get me to do things. Ultimately, I believe they were attempting to set me up for criminal charges, but I avoided those because I don't do criminal things.
How are you feeling today?
You left me absolutely speechless.
Yeah.
Okay, not
How am I
how did you
feeling
fight the
today?
fear, or how do you cope with these situations in long term?
Ultimately, I'm suffering from some pretty severe emotional PTSD, a lot of depression, a lot of anger, absolutely uncontrollable rage where I have to sequester myself away from people to get my emotions under control. It's very deleterious to my personal life. I ended up, my marriage was dissolved because of all this bullshit. Can I say? Sorry.
It's fine. We appreciate cuss words. Yeah.
And it's just more and more. I've had people attacking me and my fellow co-hosts for years now, because of the things we're saying about Mike Flynn, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Joseph Lonsdale, and really all this is indicative of, to me, is that they have paid crews of trolls to protect their reputations, to manipulate people. I mean, we've had guests on our podcast who have been attacked by trolls. They've given, things we've said in the past completely out of context. According to these trolls, I'm racist, homophobic, misogynistic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, anti-Christian, a Christian nationalist. I mean, it's one insult after another, right? The attacks are constant, and you just, at this point, people can think what they like. I stand by my work. I say what I say. And as time has progressed, the things that we've been saying on my podcast, Radical as Truth Survives, have been proven out. And I think more than ever, people are finally starting to understand the connections between Jeffrey Epstein, Peter Thiel, 4chan, Andrew Ornheimer, Anonymous, and people are starting to see these things because, as we may or may have not noticed, depending on how cognizant of these things your audience is, not right now, but for the last probably a decade or two, there has been a movement to recruit young people, predominantly men, but also some women, and recruit them online, drag them into chat rooms or parasocial groups, manipulate these young people.
What's parasocial group? We should
A
probably
parasocial
explain.
group. So you have friends in real life. You have people you go see, people you talk to. That's a social group, right?
Mm-hmm.
A parasocial group would be a fake social group, an online group where you feel as if
Welcome.
you have,
Yeah.
yeah,
You feel like
you feel
you're being
welcome. You
liked.
feel, you have a connection, right? But what you may not understand is these people might be manipulating you to their own ends. And we see a lot of that, especially on 4chan. I mean, there's a reason that so many lone wolf mass shooters have come from 4chan, reference 4chan in their manifestos, reference 8chan, spout anti-Semitic views, great replacement, white supremacist theory. And that is because, 4chan and 8chan and other chans, there's a number of sites. They have been used as recruitment venues for these disillusioned young people to turn them into radicals.
So
And
they
that could
are
be
giving them their new tribe, basically, like comforting them by respect, by newly found. I'm important. I'm suddenly someone likes me. That's the
suddenly I have, a young teenager who's kind of an outcast in high school, doesn't have a lot of friends. It's probably going to find their way online, right? Then they find their way online, and suddenly they got this big group of friends, and this big group of friends makes them feel good. It gives them dopamine. It gives them serotonin. You get people literally addicted to those feelings, which we can see as, recent rulings against Meta, Instagram, showing that these, social media can be addictive. These young kids do get addicted to this stuff, and they get dragged into things, and it can be a very subtle. It's not a, you have to be a Nazi to be my friend. No, it's not that at all. It's a, hey, you're my friend, and we'll be talking about things. You know what? It's those stupid Jews, man. And you just start slowly, it's a nudge. You start slowly building the idea that the problem is not you as a person or society or the way things are. No, the problem is this specific group of people. And it could be,
or
the problem is
LGBT
women, right?
or women.
Oh yeah, it's the gays, or it's black people, or it's, Jewish people. Oh no, it's the Muslims. Anyway, you start getting nudged towards these extremist views, and it can be very subtle and very slow. But depending on how quickly you start absorbing all this, you start repeating it, it actually affects, your personality, your mind. You start thinking these things, and before you know it, we've got young boys with semi-automatic rifles out, murdering people in Christchurch.
You want to be respected. You want to fit.
How would you
That's right. And there is an element of hero worship, because if you look at, how many of these mass shooters have cited the Columbine murders as like, that's my inspiration, I want to be like those guys, right? They have scoreboards up on the chans for how many kills a person gets, and do they escape, do they end up dead, do they end up, arrested and in prison?
So martyrs, basically martyrs.
Yeah,
That's
they're
how
making
the
heroes.
Al Qaeda and Islamic State did this shit before.
Well, that's very interesting you say that, because there is a direct line between the people who were who were fighting ISIS and fighting Al Qaeda and doing online operations against them, right? And the people who have then taken these strategies and started using them against Europeans, against Westerners, against Americans.
It means they
people like Michael Flynn.
They reversed it. It means like with this knowledge, they just reversed the.
Yeah. So, ISIS and Al Qaeda will use something called traumatic dissociative propaganda, right? They will show you videos of beheadings, or they will show you videos of, torture and rape. Oh, look what these horrible Americans did. They're coming for our children. And it's very, graphic stuff. And when you see these things, it literally breaks your mind, right? It causes cognitive issues. It makes you dissociate. It gives you trauma. So Al Qaeda and ISIS were doing this, and this is how they recruited, people to be suicide bombers online, right? You basically have kind of two general groups. when it comes to that. When it comes to lone wolf terrorists, you have very poor people who can be manipulated for money and resources. And, if you wear this bomb and kill yourself and take out the infidels, we'll take care of your family for the rest of their lives. That's an easy manipulation. But then you also have another group of lone wolf terrorists that they were always puzzled by. And this would be young men, particularly of, middle and upper middle class families. And they couldn't figure out, like, why are these young men becoming suicide bombers? Why are they becoming terrorists? Well, it's very simple. They had internet access, and that internet access was used to turn them into things like this. And so what people in Israel and the United States did is they saw this ability. And if you look through the Epstein files, a man named Boris Nikolic actually emailed Jeffrey Epstein about 4chan and Christopher Poole, and he said, the possibility for manipulation here is massive. And that's what they've done. They've been manipulating people online. Between Epstein's, interactions with Christopher Poole and Peter Thiel's interactions with a hacker named Andrew Ornheimer, they have created a terrorist recruiting ground using the same
same
ISIS and Al
method.
Qaeda.
Once they learned how to tackle it, they just picked it. Oh my God.
Well, so it's interesting because they started, they were doing just mass shooters, and we had these young men who were mass shooters creating these terrible things. And then they actually upped the ante. They used it to create a cult, and that cult was called QAnon. And if you recall, it started in 4chan, Poll, the POL forum. That was the forum where Andrew Ornheimer was very, very active,
Yeah.
right?
Who is Andrew Ornheimer?
Who is Andrew
about
Ornheimer? That's an excellent question. Andrew Ornheimer is a long time, he's an internet guy, and he is a programmer. He is, what's colloquially known as a hacker. But he ran with a group of people who called themselves anonymous. And back in like 2010, 2011, he got in trouble because he took some data from AT&T that showed when people sign up for access to their iPhones with their email address, that data could be scraped, and it could be shown that you were a user with an Apple iPhone with this email address, and here's some details from you. So he took that data, he released it to the press to say, hey, look how insecure this is. Because of that, he was prosecuted and sent to prison. There's a movie that came out in 2014 called Hacker Wars. And in that movie, Andrew Ornheimer specifically says, we are going to change the world, but it's going to take oceans of blood, right? That's the type of person Andrew Ornheimer is. He is so angry at the world. He is also, after he came out of prison, he had a huge swastika tattooed on his chest. He's so angry at the world. He wants to break the world so badly that he then aligned himself with the PayPal mafia, people like Jeff Garcia, Peter Thiel, Pierre Omidyar, and they funded him to carry out these operations, which led to, mass shooters, the terrorist organization known as QAnon, political manipulation. Andrew Ornheimer was also, France focuses a lot on Russia and election interference when Macron got elected. What they neglect was that Andrew Ornheimer released the Macron leaks on 4chan in the poll forum. And then another one of their promoters, Jack Posobiec, who's also an operative. Yeah, he's an operative for this organization. He requested to speak in front of the French Parliament about the Macron leaks, which it turns out were a bunch of fake documents and whatnot. But it's still election interference funded by Peter Thiel, executed by Andrew Ornheimer, this hacker who, white supremacist, misogynist, swastika tattooed on him, wants to break the world.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. Oh my God. So I don't know. I forgot my next question.
We're
Oh
only
my God.
talking about the happy
Okay,
stuff here
I
today,
have a
folks.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many people see
Mhm.
hackers as, it's a broad word or meaning, but it's kind of like bad boys, which we've been talking about, and vile actors. And I wanted to ask if that can change at times, like now, if the situation is crucial, and I think we're actually in World War III at some type of that. Could that kind of change? I don't know. These formerly bad guys into maybe some guys trying to help the situation, like the mafia guys would fight during the World War II. Is something like that possible or not?
Something like that is possible. However, the biggest problem we have, I think personally, currently in the cybersecurity arena, is we have evidence that a number of law enforcement and intelligence operatives have infiltrated the cybersecurity community. That they have, they're using confidential informants to manipulate people to do crimes, get busted, and then once you're arrested and you go to prison and your
They
reputation
turn
is
you.
ruined, they turn you and now you
Yeah.
work for them, right? And we've seen this another number of times. It's actually kind of interesting because some of the people who were involved in the supposed destruction of QAnon, like Aubrey Cottle, he has admitted in private chat rooms that uh, he has, run honeypots for Canadian intelligence services, where he was serving up child sexual abuse material
Oh my
in an effort
God.
to lure predators into this honeypot and get them busted and get them in trouble. We also know that Fred Brennan, who recently passed away, his website 8chan also had a large repository of sexual abuse material. And we know that Andrew Ornheimer is working with Peter Thiel. We know that Peter Thiel has been listed as a, FBI confidential informant. There's a large
Yeah,
crossover
there's
here
also
between.
one hacker. There was listed one hacker from MIT or one expert on cybersec from MIT being on that early meetings. I
Okay,
forgot his name.
so that would be the individual known as Vincenzo Iozzo.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, and he was actually introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by Joy Ito of the MIT Media Lab. And if you follow their correspondence, it's very interesting because one day out of the blue, Joy Ito emails Jeffrey Epstein and he says, "Jeffrey, we think you may have been hacked. Don't worry about it. Vincenzo's coming over to help you figure it out." So Vincenzo goes over, and Epstein doesn't, he doesn't really know who this Iozzo guy is. He's just some computer guy, right? And so it's interesting because Iozzo goes over, he finishes devices. There's not really a relationship there. You see Vincenzo like basically harassing Epstein for a meeting, like, I got this question, we should have a meeting, I got this. And eventually Vincenzo Iozzo ingratiates himself into Jeff Epstein's network. And it is also Vincenzo Iozzo who warns Jeffrey Epstein about Andrew Ornheimer, saying that dude's crazy. And by the way, he's being paid by Peter Thiel, but you probably know that.
Okay. So, this is such a dirty stuff. Oh my God, it blows my mind.
It really is. And it's broken my heart. It's certainly destroyed my mental health.
Yeah, I
But
can imagine.
somebody's got to dig through all this crap to let people know what's going on. And that's, that's where people like Jim Stewartson and Heidi Kuda and I come in.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Exactly. It's for normal people who live their daily lives, it's so hard to imagine how sophisticated these dirty places in the background are. They just think, it's some weird things, or people are crazy, or social media got recently crazy, and they have no idea that there is a war on the background where It costs human lives.
But there's the human life cost. There is a political cost. And a lot of people don't even understand that, like, this started 20 some years ago. I mean, the first time Peter Thiel invested in Facebook in 2004, that was the start of a chain of events. And whether those events were intentional or whether those events were just, oh, this is just what happened, you can follow this chain of events, how it benefits Russia, how it benefits China, Saudi Arabia, how it benefits a criminal element, how it benefited Donald Trump. Because, if you've watched any movies like The Great Hack or Dr. Charles Creel's People You May Know, which is on Amazon Prime, if you watch Jack Bryan's Active Measures, you start to see all these connections between the nodes in the network. And it's a long running conspiracy to overthrow liberal democracy, utilizing the internet, psychological operations techniques, exploiting cognitive biases, exploiting people's weaknesses, exploiting their lack of knowledge and understanding of the internet and how things work, and how social media is addictive, and how you give so much data to social media. I mean, people who are posting images of their children, people who are posting about, oh, my heart is broken because my relationship broke up, people posting about, I don't have any money, I'm going broke, I'm failing. If you look at what Cambridge Analytica did with Ocean's profiles, or if you look at what a company called Gloo, Gloo, did when it comes to,
by the way, no one knows what that name, the glue, it would be such an, sorry for interrupting you, but
No,
collecting data of believers, of Christians, including their secrets. This was
including their medical information, including their emotional, mental health information, and then utilizing that information to, like, if you find an older guy who maybe his wife just passed away, right? And he posts about it online about how sad he is. Well, suddenly I've got a data point that I can give to a church in his area, and they can reach out to that guy, and they can surround him, and they can give him love and comfort him and pull them into their cult. And then they start brainwashing and programming. Donald Trump says, Donald Trump's going to make us all wealthy.
World.
Yeah, we're going to save the world. We're going to stop those evil homosexuals or whatever bias the guy has. They're going to play on that, right? Oh, the problem? The problem is immigrants. That's why you're broke, right? It's that programming, that nudging, that influence, that they turn people into a weapon utilizing data. And your audience can learn more about this. They can read up on something called Oceans, OCEANS profiles. And this is how data, at least by Cambridge Analytica, and they're probably doing some version of this still. This is how data is used to figure out what type of person you are, and then figure out how you should be manipulated. Right?
Who's in charge of Gloo?
Yes.
Who runs it?
Who's in charge of Gloo? Well, the primary investor and the chairman of the board was actually a man I worked for, a man named Pat Gelsinger. And he used to be the CEO of VMware while I was there. And I actually worked for a business unit there called the Hyper-Converged Business Unit. And things always seemed kind of weird there. But I found out about the Gloo thing. This was after I had separated from the company. I found out about the Gloo thing, and I made sure all my former coworkers and people online knew about this data manipulation, because I personally was aghast. I was mortified that I had helped make money for a person who was doing this to Americans, right? And eventually it also came out that VMware under Patrick Gelsinger had manipulated their financial statements in such a way that they ended up paying an $8 million fine to the SEC. So once Patrick Gelsinger was ousted, shall we say, as CEO of VMware, he left. And where did he go? He went to Intel. No, he went to
Oh.
Intel. He became the CEO of Intel for a while. So let's think about that for a second. A guy who is using data to
Who
manipulate
has financial
Americans
troubles and conflict with the law ends up in
is
one of the
running one of
most
the largest chip
microprocess-
makers in the United States. You see a
It's-
problem with that, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
see. It
Just a
just
little.
doesn't compute somehow. It's
Yeah.
too.
Well,
It's
so
so
if you
bad.
stay on Gelsinger, which is what we did, and we kept, bringing up these things that he's doing, eventually he retired as CEO of Intel, and now he's just chairman of the board for Glue. And it's, I feel somewhat vindicated, but the fact that there have been no criminal charges for the things he and his company have done have really kind of disappointed me.
What do you think drives these people? I think about morals and like characters, and I just don't get this. I understand the crime and motives, but what is inside their souls? I don't get that. Do not understand.
Do you think once they get in the conflict with the law that someone squeezes them and they have no other choice, or is it just choice
Well,
like,
there's
hey,
certainly
what? It's about money.
Well, there's certainly
Uh-huh.
compromise involved, right? We've seen too much criminal behavior on the part of people who have been outed, right? The thing I do know about Gelsinger is he's a very religious man. There is how shall I say this? There is a
Mhm.
will to power, right? And certain people will be, maybe they aren't sociopaths, maybe they aren't psychopaths, but in their desire to control and run things and be in charge, they engage in sociopathic and psychotic behavior. They're willing to target other people to make them tools so that they can have control over the politics of our country or a group of people. It's everybody wants to be the chief, right?
Mhm.
Nobody wants to be the cook. Everybody wants to be the leader. Very few people want to be the foot soldier. And this is what these people are. They think they are smarter. They think they're better.
And they think they
should
deserve
be
it sometimes.
they deserve it. There's a sense of entitlement there. Yeah, that's there is a mental illness that drives these people. And I don't know how you can treat it. I can only tell you I've seen it. I think we've all seen it. You ever had a really, really, really terrible boss?
Yeah,
Right?
I once.
Someone who caused chaos, someone who was mean to his employees, or he played favorites. We see this type of behavior on a smaller scale all the time. These people have just taken it global, right?
Okay.
We know that they're responsible for Brexit. We know that they're trying to break up the EU. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Musk's attacks against the EU.
Yeah.
Look at Peter Thiel's infiltration of the UK through Palantir.
Oh my God,
I mean,
this is so bad. The healthcare in the UK and the British Army and British Intel, they are basically glued.
Yeah,
Palantir.
they're stuck to their Palantir, and people don't realize this,
Yeah.
and that's why it's important that, as painful as it is personally, to continue to discuss these things. Like I've been kind of drummed out of the IT career path, right? Like my name has been used so many times in a negative context, my actual name online. Like if you go to Twitter and you search my name, Josh Fidel, in quotes, you'll just see reams and reams and reams of awful things, right? You'll see a fall guy, a guy named Thomas Schoenberger. He's a fall guy for QAnon. He tried to get me murdered by the police. He tried to have me swatted, saying I was a terrorist and I was stockpiling firearms in my home. You'll see personal attacks
These
against
SWAT
me.
farms are so dangerous.
Interesting. There's a lot of crossover between these online troll farms, like places like Kiwi Farms, Gab, Telegram.
We should explain, I think, because the Kiwi Farms and Gab Telegram knows basically everyone, but the Gap and Kiwi Farms is in Czech Republic absolutely unknown. Just
Okay, so
brief
these are
explanation.
a brief explanation. These are basically like different versions of social media sites that cater to white supremacists, misogynists. Like, you might not really care about the difference between white and black people, but you hate women. Well, that's okay. Come over here, talk to all our other people who hate women, right? That's what Kiwi Farms is. It's a recruiting tool, it's a planning tool. Like, you will see threads on there where they literally they pick out people and they attack them, right? They build up a movement to say this person should be attacked and here's why.
And here is how.
Here's how. And these attacks start happening, like, people get the police sent to their house. One of the victims who I've talked to in the past is an author named Patrick Tomlinson, and he has been targeted both on Kiwi Farms and another forum called the ONA. It stands for Opie and Anthony Forums, and those are two places he's been targeted. And the police have gone to his house with guns drawn 50 times, not once or twice, not 3 times, 50. They targeted his parents. They sent the police to his parents, and his parents are like late 70s, early 80s. They get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning by the police at the door with the guns drawn, pointed at them. That's what these places like Kiwi Farms, ONA, Gab, right? They recruit, they indoctrinate, and they weaponize.
This?
And how do they survive this? They got lucky and never got shot. That's and it's not just the police thing. That's something I want your audience to understand. People have actually driven by Patrick's house, taken pictures of things like his lawn furniture, and then put it up on Craigslist for free. And then suddenly someone drives by and steals their lawn furniture thinking, oh, I'm just taking this thing that someone put up on Craigslist. No, that was actually a troll action to make his life more miserable. He tried putting, he and some of his business partners put together an application that allowed people to find restaurants and bars that offered non-alcoholic cocktails for people that didn't want to drink, but wanted to get, be social. So non-alcoholic cocktails certainly seems like a harmless thing, right? The trolls began attacking his application, tore it apart, hacked it, found authentication keys, passwords that were coded into the application, attempted to run up his hosting bill by flooding it with not just thousands or hundreds of thousands, but millions of false requests. And each time that request is processed, it costs him, a few fractions of a penny. Now do that millions and millions of times, and suddenly you've got a bill that's tens of thousands of dollars. That's economic warfare utilizing the internet. That's what these things are. When you find 4chan, 8chan, Kiwi Farms, Gab, Telegram. I mean, think about Parler, right? There was Parler, Rebecca Mercer. Yeah. Funny how the Mercer name keeps popping up in this, because if you know your history, the person who gave Peter Thiel his first $500,000 to invest in Facebook, Robert Mercer.
Know that.
Robert Mercer, the guy who had to pay a $7 billion tax bill for doing business with Russia. That guy. Anyway, so his daughter, he and his daughter created this website called Parler, right? And there was a huge push. If you go back through history and you look at things, there's a huge push on Twitter, and this is before Elon Musk bought it, to get conservative people over to Parler. And people like Sean Hannity said, I've had it with the censorship on Twitter. I'm moving to Parler.
Yeah.
Candace Owens, I've had it with the censorship on Twitter. I'm moving to Parler. I'm moving to Parler.
Jones.
Alex Jones. I'm going over to Parler.
Yeah.
Who else was on? I'm going to Parler. Why, that would be Enrique Tarrio, one of the leaders of the January 6th, one of the on-the-ground leaders of the January 6th attempted coup. Who else was there? Why, a guy named Joseph Biggs, who used to
Joe
work with Mike
Biggs, the
Flynn.
QAnon Intel guy, the
Yeah, he somehow ended up on Parler. I know, crazy, right? Oh, you know what else was on Parler, which people don't really talk about? 250,000 Saudi Arabian bots, fake accounts. And here's the thing about social media. When you get a like, when you get a repost, that triggers
yeah
neurochemicals,
that
right?
triggers
You get a good feeling.
feelings.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that neurochemical addiction allows you to be manipulated. So if you've got 250,000 fake accounts that can tell you, hey, what you're saying about the election being stolen is right on, that's good stuff, it's going to reinforce that. It becomes an echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that got busted on January 6th had Parler accounts. They were radicalized on that website. You know, it's no different than the QAnon people that were radicalized on 4chan and 8chan. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of crossover between Parler and QAnon. It's no different from the mass shooters who were, radicalized on 4chan. It's the same playbook done over and over by the same people, and yet no one really talks about it.
Yeah, Jay, they just building new and new platforms again and again and again.
Correct.
Same people.
So,
Okay.
talking about all the happy, fun, uplifting stuff today. Great to
I
be
could
here.
listen to you
Thanks for having me.
forever. Gosh,
Stop it!
I couldn't even come up with a question.
I was so flabbergasted.
This has been my reality for the last 6 years, and it takes a toll. But at the same point, you gotta be willing to see the absurdity of it all, right? It's absolutely absurd that this has been going on for multiple decades. It's absolutely absurd that no one in a position of power is talking about it. I have, one thing that really, 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 I've never been a huge Macron fan, but when he came out and said, you are leaving your children online unsupervised for hours each day, what is wrong with you? That gave me hope. That message needs to get through to parents, right?
Yeah.
As I am very, very aware of all of this, I have discussions with my children. By the way, there are predators out there. There are Nazis out there, misogynists. Like, really, it is really annoying to me that my 10, 11, 12-year-old children have to know what misogyny is and what misanthropy is and what misandry is so that they can avoid these traps that are laid for them online. Like, I guarantee my children have a better understanding of great replacement theory than certainly any of their classmates and probably some of their teachers, right? Because that is how informed parents need to be to protect their kids online.
This is so...
It is what it is, man. We've allowed this system to be built around us. No one has done anything to regulate it or to rein it in. And now it's come back to bite us in the behind, all in the name of the internet is going to be this great prosperity generator, and we can't do anything to regulate the internet because then we won't make huge amounts of money on the internet. And yeah, there are quite a few people who have made a ton of money on the internet, but guess what? It's also gotten school kids murdered. It's also gotten governments overthrown or attempted to be overthrown. It's gotten people in places of worship murdered. You look at Elon Musk's, AI, his XAI and his Grok, and it's producing non-consensual sexualized images of women who've done nothing more than just posted a picture of themselves online. Hey, here's me with my friend at such and such. Well, guess what? Now you're featured in an AI pornographic film because somebody wanted to.
Like, I think Australia banned social media for kids under 16. Definitely France did. Australia did as well. Do you have hope that we can fix this?
They've also banned smoking and alcohol for kids. Do kids still get tobacco and alcohol? I think we can all agree they do, right? There's a certain level of hypocrisy when you say, here's this really advanced, addictive, manipulative thing, but we only don't want children to have it. We're going to protect the kids. We're going to keep the kids safe. Well, what about all the adults who have absolutely no idea, right? I think it needs to be more than just, we're going to ban this for kids. Kids are smart. Kids, I put adult controls on my child's tablet. Within 48 hours, they figured out a way around the controls, right? The social media ban is the same thing. Sure, it's great, but it's also incredibly performative. I don't think it truly accomplishes everything that needs to be accomplished. I think we need to see more things like the fines. Like, you notice when Elon Musk got fined by the EU, he calmed down just a little bit.
It hurt.
It hurt, but not enough.
Yeah.
Right. And this is these people, these networks, these companies that are doing these things. They're trying to keep it on the down low. They're trying to keep it hush hush. But when things like this come up and they get punished, oh, we're so bad. Okay, we're sorry. And they'll pay their fine. But they don't stop doing it. Right. They don't stop doing the things they're accused of. Meta just lost some lawsuits over here. Yes. Social media is addictive. Yes. Social media can cause harm to children's mental health. Well, let's acknowledge it also causes harm to adults' mental health, right? Let's acknowledge that, this was kind of the plan from the beginning based on who's been running these things. I mean, if you look at the data that was used in the 2016 election to target American voters, you've got Peter Thiel's Palantir sending
to Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, they sent an engineer to Robert Mercer funded, Steve Bannon run Cambridge Analytica to help them scrape data from Peter Thiel owned Facebook. Like, if you don't see that little network there of Thiel, Mercer, Thiel, I don't know what to tell you. And I've been called so many things because I see these network connections. I've been called, conspiracy theorist, and people attack my mental health and blah, 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 blah. Really, it's the attacks on my mental health, which are more deleterious to my mental health than my mental health actually was, which is weird. But anyway, but yeah, these people are connected. There is a network. We can track it to Epstein. We can track it to billionaires in Silicon Valley. We can track it to Russians. We can track it to Saudi Arabian agents, right? We can track it to Israeli agents. And Americans, unfortunately, they have this thing in their brain where they can kind of only think of one thing at a time, right? Russia is our enemy and Israel is good. Well, no, Russia is our enemy, yes, but there are also elements inside of Israel that are manipulating financial systems, political systems, intelligence systems, right? There's a reason that Donald Trump Jr. had a meeting with Joel Zamel of Psy Group prior to the 2016 election. Yeah, and Psy Group, it's very simple. When you look at a lot of these private intelligence companies, right? These private intelligence companies, they run operations. And when I say they run operations, this could be manipulating people online to think a certain way. This could be manipulating information in our, information spaces. They pay to get stories inserted into the media. I actually have evidence of, and I'm not going to use their names right now, but I have evidence of 2 mainstream journalists who were willing to take a $10,000 payment to post information about stories that I was working on. That's how corrupted our information space is, right? So intelligence operatives, they can do online manipulation. And we see this specifically. Mother Jones wrote an article about it. Escape from the billionaire meme mogul, where Sergey Grishin admits that his internet company, 421 Media, was used to change people's minds online. Right. And then we also have these private intelligence companies that will do things like insert people into protests to cause situations. Right. And we've seen this tactic before. The Russians used the Tatushki. It's the same thing the FBI was doing in the 60s and 70s with COINTELPRO. It's a long established tradition. Now, yeah, it's big. Sorry, I should go slowly. Basically, if
Yes.
you understand the history of intelligence, if you understand the history of domestic intelligence, right? And people in the Czech Republic should remember, what the Russians did, what the Stasi did in East Germany. That has been turned into private corporations now. Yeah, it's for sale. It's not a government-run intelligence institution anymore. It is private companies, corporations with their own agendas, beholden to people with money because they got to run operations for these people to get money, to get paid. And that is the world we live in now. I have a brain that retains information pretty well, just from my time as being an IT guy. Because when you're designing a network that spans, multiple countries across the globe, like, hey, we've got data repositories and manufacturing data in China, and that has to be transferred to our central office in California. And that data has to be transferred to Detroit because that describes how we're going to buy automobile parts to build cars. That's what I did as a profession, that kind of thing. And for some reason, those skills that I developed in technology became useful for identifying global criminal networks. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? This is a pretty dangerous life you are having. I don't want to say you have. So, give us some hope. Do you see a hope?
Start calling out your own Russian-backed billionaires. Who do you have over there? Babish? Is that the Russian-backed billionaire? You have a bunch of them. That's it's a mob. It's a criminal crew. And that's something people need to understand. These billionaires, they don't just happen. It's not just luck. It's not just, they've got great business sense. No, they were built.
Yeah.
And you can see them being built. You look at Ukraine, they have people like Medvedchuk and Kolomoisky, right?
Yeah.
You look at Russia, they've got Deripaska, Abramovich, Uzmanov, right? You look at America, we've got Elon Musk, we've got Peter Thiel, we've got Joe Lonsdale, we have Mark Andreessen, we have Reid Hoffman. All these billionaires, it wasn't just good savvy business sense that made them. It was foreign backing and investment pouring into their companies, of journalism to promote them,
to make them look geniuses.
Yeah, the myth of the genius tech bro, right?
Yeah.
Which I've been able to absolutely skewer. I mean, you look at Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is this great genius.
He's a moron.
He's an absolute moron. He's a ketamine addict. Obviously a sexual deviant, given the fact that he paid $250,000 and a pony for a hand job. I mean, who does that? It's ridiculous. Anyway, but the thing that blew my mind, the thing that really blew my mind, when I was in the IT field, I worked with a lot of government people. And one of the things we did was a bunch of databases, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, NoSQL, MySQL. We did databases with the government, right? I can't tell you what, but I can just tell you, yeah, they were using databases. Elon Musk once said, "This dork thinks the government uses SQL." Okay, if you understand anything about databases, SQL is structured, excuse me. Sorry.
Bless you.
Sinuses. All right.
Okay.
If you understand anything about technology and SQL, you will know that SQL stands for structured query language, which is simply a way of talking to databases.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
No idea. None. Right?
And
He didn't build Tesla. He bought Tesla. All right. He didn't build SpaceX. Putin's favorite congressman, Dana Rohrabacher, wrote a bill that created SpaceX for Elon Musk. So these things don't just happen by chance. Say again?
He went to Moscow before he bought SpaceX or made SpaceX.
Yeah, he was trying to get rockets from the Russians. to bring over to America and
No
use as
one speaks about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. No one's Well, that's the other thing that blows my mind, right? Mother Jones wrote this huge article about Sergey Grishin and his attacks on his ex-wife and her business partner and his social media manipulation company 421 Media and his Instagram girlfriend. But they didn't mention one damn thing about his PayPal mafia business partner, Joseph Lonsdale, his Israeli billionaire business partner, Dovey Francis, who, by the way, also worked at Deutsche Bank, which is where he met Sergey in 2008. It's crazy how just certain little bits of information get left out of these articles that are incredibly, incredibly important to understanding the greater picture.
Yeah. So I see that the timing shows already 1 hour. We are talking 1 hour, so this is the perfect timing to come to. I just can't wrap my mind around what did we do just here. I was planning just a simple interview about activism online, and this is what we get.
To understand how to be an activist online, you have to understand what you're up against, right? And what we are up against is some very well-funded, very evil, very bad people. So just be careful out there, kids. It's a jungle.
Thank you. That's the perfect end.
Thank you.